I went to the doctor because I had a cough.
Okay.
And then they sent me for an x-ray the next day immediately. And then I got a call saying that the CT is scheduled, and I found out on the phone that I had lymphoma. I got more scans, and I did 6 months of chemo from there. It was a tricky case. I did 6 months, and they said it was supposed to be gone, but I did 6 months of chemo, and it grew. So they were pretty shocked. They thought it was going to be one and done, and then they found out I had 2 types of lymphoma. Tricky part is I had those 2 cancers, so they were kind of guessing. They basically told me, put me on a board and said, yeah, we're kind of guessing here to try to get you better. It wasn't like we're going to get you better. It was more like we're going to try because this is not common.
When they said that it's not common, when they said they don't know what to do, when they said we'll try, did you think at that point in time, like, I just might not make it through this? All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Punch Me in the Face. I'm really excited about today's episode because a lot of times, you know, this world, this podcast world becomes about, I think we can get away from the core success principles and then real life stories of people that do things that other people just can't accomplish, like they're epic things they accomplish, right? I got a guest today, Declan Usman, and say hi, Declan.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. So he's getting better. Yes, it was just hey, everybody. And I work with Declan, and we do some business together. He's been an independent contractor for a very short period of time. And, you know, worked with the city, just had a baby, 25, okay, 25 years old. And, you know, Declan was just talking to me, and I was like, dude, you're getting on the podcast, you're going to share this. And we're going to share it in a way where it genuinely helps people. Because everybody posts the quotes, shares the quotes, like they're good. Like, today's my day, and nothing's going to stand in my way, and I'm resilient. And they have all these awesome things to say. But at the end of the day, do you know what you do when you have adversity? Some of you probably do. Some of you don't. You're hypothesizing, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're like, hypothesis is an educated guess. Maybe you're kind of fantasizing. Like, I don't think I really would act that way and stand up to myself or stand up for it or work harder. Now, and I want Declan to tell a story, and I want you to hear him because I think it's important for you. I always tried to find people that had been through things that I had not been through so I could understand their strength, their adaptability, their survivability, like all the things they did facing circumstances that thankfully for most of us, we don't face. And certainly not at an age in our early 20s. And I'm gonna tee him up, but I want to share with you a snippet of what he shared. And then he's gonna share with you his journey. Okay? So first of all, I'm gonna be straight up with you. If you have anybody in your family that's dealing with cancer, has dealt with cancer, you have a current cancer scare, you want to hear this. You want to, I've not been through that personally, okay? This man's story is a blueprint on how to deal with adversity. It just is. And we're sitting there talking, and I said, and he's just talking. He's like, yeah, I'm going through this. My blood, he's going to share this with you. My white blood cell count. And then I was trying to eat, and he said, you understand, I got a lethal dose of chemo, however many hours a day. And I want him to tell the story. And again, the problem for most of us is when we hear something that is hard to hear, we don't want to think about it. Because we're like, dude, that's adversity. I don't want to hear about that. Like, we want to hear the ending, right? Like, you watch a movie, and the star is in the movie and he's getting his ass kicked, and you hate that part. Because you're like, man, he's a good dude, and he didn't see the guy come behind him, and why'd he do that? And he hit him in the back, and these other 3 guys came. But at the end, when he's surviving, he or she, then you're like, oh man, it's the greatest movie ever, greatest show ever, that was so awesome. Matter of fact, some people will fast forward. If you watch the movie 2 or 3 times, like, I'll get through that part and get to when he wins, okay? The thing about winning, though, is it's that time when it really, really sucks. And I said, man, what was one of your keys to getting like out of the hospital quicker? Number one, why did you want to? And he's like, my wife's pregnant. She was pregnant. Baby boy's born now. My wife was pregnant. And they were going to put a feeding tube inside, because I got, like, he'll explain, but these sores all up and down my mouth, all the way down my entire body. And it's so painful to eat that just give you a feeding tube. And you usually go like, and he said, well, if I can eat on my own and get more nutrition, I'm guessing, do all things I need to do, I'll get out quicker. So he's like, and he very nonchalantly is like, I just ate and it sucked. I think he barely said that it sucked, but I just kept eating because I wanted to get home to see my pregnant wife. And I just sat there and thought, with all these amazing speakers, by the way, Declan is not, you're not going to go, oh my God, he's the world's best speaker ever. Nor am I. You're not going to go, man, he's been doing this forever. He's got a following of this amount of people. You're not. I'm going to implore him to tell his story more because it's inspirational. And whether it's right or wrong, when somebody in their early 20s deals with what he was dealing with, it's different than when it's your 84-year-old grandfather. It doesn't mean you're not sad for your 84-year-old grandfather, but he's 84. Kids, grandkids, hell, maybe great-grandkids, life. But a young man in his 20s that hadn't started his life yet. I said, where'd you get, his last name's Usman. He's like, well, I lived in England until I was 7, I think he said. And then he's like, and my Declan is, I'm Irish. And I was like, funny thing is, dude, my mom told me I was Irish, which I believed her. I was like, why would I not? And then when I went to Ireland, I was stopped over doing a bunch of things, and I was like, hey, I'm trying to find your maiden name. And she's like, why would you be in Ireland? I was like, because I was looking at some stuff. I was trying to look some stuff up. And she was like, we're not Irish. And I'm like, you told my entire life we're German, because on my man's side, that's German. And then we're Irish. She's like, no, we're Scottish. And I'm like, she's like, the same thing. I'm like, I don't think it's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing. So anyway, I thought I was Irish too. So I guess I was named Sean, and I guess I also assumed that I was Irish. So Declan, I want you to don't ever underestimate how powerful your story is. The people that watch the Punch Me in the Face podcast, I believe, are people that are trying to change their own life. I think that they're probably more apt in your age range. And they're trying to figure out whatever they're trying to figure out, deal with adversity, get whatever they're trying to do. But I really want you, Declan, to share with us, like, how old were you when you got diagnosed with cancer?
I was 21.
21. Did you have any idea, like, you might have cancer? Did people in your family get cancer young? Did you ever have any inclination?
No, I went to the doctor because I had a cough.
Okay.
And then they sent me for an x-ray the next day immediately. And then I got a call saying that the CT is scheduled, and I found out on the phone that I had lymphoma.
So on the phone?
Yep, on
the
phone.
They said, did your CT scan? We got some news for you. You have lymphoma.
Yep, correct.
At that moment in time, what did you feel? What did you think?
Well, I heard the word cancer, and I kind of froze. My wife right now, at the time, we just started dating. I mean, we were, doing things together for the first 3 months, but I wouldn't say we were dating. And she stuck with me through the whole thing. I got more scans, and I did 6 months of chemo from there.
So you were told over the phone, cancer. When was your first round of chemo?
First round of chemo was about a month after. So I got diagnosed, I believe it was May 2021, and I did my chemo in June. It was a tricky case. I did 6 months, and they said it was supposed to be gone, but I did 6 months of chemo, and it grew. So it was
the cancer grew during your chemo.
The cancer grew during my chemo, yeah. So they were pretty shocked. They thought it was going to be one and done, and then they found out I had 2 types of lymphoma. So it was a really tricky case, and they sent me up to Fred Hutchinson's in Seattle.
Got it. So what did they do for you up there?
Up there, we did more chemo. More chemo to try to get to a stem cell transplant. The tricky part is I had those 2 cancers, so they were kind of guessing. They basically told me, put me on a board and said, yeah, we're kind of guessing here to try to get you better. It wasn't like we're going to get you better. It was more like we're going to try because this is not common.
When they said that it's not common, when they said they don't know what to do, when they said we'll try, did you think at that point in time, like, I just might not make it through this?
Not once.
Not
I just said,
once.
All right, I just got to, what's the next step? And that's what I always ask the doctor is like, okay, you told me it, but what do I got to do now to get better? Because I know I'm going to get better personally.
What made you know that? I mean, you were right, but what made you know that?
I just knew it's what I had to do. All growing up, I was always that kid and getting sick. I was a preemie, so I was in the hospital in and out for a little bit. But so it's just steps I had to take. I was doing the chemo. I lost my hair. I lost, everything that happens. You're nauseous, all that stuff. But I just knew one step each day, and that's it. I had my 10 minutes, so I'd put whatever I was mad at in the box. After 10 minutes, I would be mad in the morning, get it over with. But I'm not going to let that ruin my whole day. I got my 10 minutes and I'm done.
Where did you learn that?
Just myself. I just going through it. It's like you see these people mad at doctors, mad at nurses. I mean, what's that going to do? You just got to do one step at a time. So in the morning or whatever it is of how I was feeling it, I'd go have my 10 minutes, get it out the way, and then I move on with my day.
So you'd be, hey, I'm angry. I'm pissed at the world. I'm pissed at this person. I'm pissed at the doctor. I'm pissed at this. I'm pissed at everybody, whoever. My mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, my neighbor. And after you were pissed for 10 minutes, you put it in the box, closed it, locked it, moved on with your day, and never brought it up again.
Exactly, because cancer isn't my life. My life, there's a moment of this cancer, but it's going away. So I knew it was a moment I had to get through, but it's just a moment. And I just had to get through it and move on.
How about the people around you? Who was obviously your now wife was amazing because you weren't even like barely dating or stood by your side.
Yep.
Who else was involved in that process with you?
My dad, my stepmom, sister, but a lot of it was my wife at the time. She was driving me to the doctors, went to every appointment, made sure she was just there by my side. I mean, my parents were also there, but man, she was my rock during it all. After I did more chemo and it grew back, I did more chemo, and then I had to have 90% of my cancer be gone to do a stem cell.
So how does that work? So what do you mean 90% be gone through stem cells?
So basically what they do is a lot of PET scans. So I do chemo, I get a PET scan, and that's injecting like sugar in you basically because sugar attaches to cancer. And so then they do a scan. 2 days later, you find out, okay, most of the cancer's gone or no cancer's gone. And so basically I had to be at 90% to do the stem cell, or the stem cell basically doesn't work. And I didn't make it. So now we're back to the board again of a whole bunch of doctors. And like, all right, what's next? Because we don't know. So we were just back to that moment again.
And how, from the day you were diagnosed, what time frame was that? So you said we're back at that moment again. How long had it been already?
It was about 9 months, I would say.
So 9 months of treatment, chemo get you pretty ill and really mess with you. You got a lot going on. You're 9 months later and you're still kind of like, we don't know.
Yeah, it was just a lot of chemos, a lot of treatments. But it was one of those cases that was just tricky. It was really tricky. And so I did lots and lots of chemo. I mean, I wasn't feeling well, but I found my way to get through it. I just took my meds, did whatever I needed to do step by step. And then I didn't make the stem cell transplant. We went with radiation. It was actually proton therapy. And that's what we did after the drawing board. We went through that, and it was just another 4 weeks, Monday through Sunday, of some proton therapy.
So you did the radiation 4 weeks. And then what happened?
Cancer was gone. We got it. So it was a guess. Basically, I got which is very uncommon, my spleen radiated, my chest, around my heart, around my lungs, on my neck. I had to wear a radiation mask, so I was pinned to a table. It was a process, but it was during COVID. We got there pretty quick to the appointments, and I just knew after this 4 weeks, I'm going to be cancer free. I had no doubt about it because I was doing the steps to get there. No matter what it was, how I was feeling, I was getting there. So I did my 4 weeks. I got through, and I had to wait, I believe it was 2 months or something after that, just to see if the radiation works, just because it's still going. And I got the remission.
How'd that feel?
Amazing. Felt amazing. I got to move on with my life for, I believe it was about a year and 11 months, and then it came back. But during that time, I married my wife. We started to be together, bought a house, things like that.
Okay, so cancer for you, a year and 11 months. Mm-hmm. How'd you find out you had cancer again? What were this? Just went in the doctor? You had symptoms? What was going on?
For about 4 or 5 months, there was something on my lung, and they were like, oh, it's a fungal infection. It's a fungal infection. Got tubes down my throat. I got biopsies. I got everything, and everything wasn't pointing at any cancer. And finally, they were like, we got to cut you open, basically. We got to get a piece of it. And they got a piece of it, sent it out, and came back as more lymphoma. And that's how we found out I had to do more treatment.
And what was the treatment then?
More chemo to get to a stem cell. Just more chemo. And the hard part is when you've already had chemo before, it's not very strong anymore. But since I was about that 2-year mark, my body is less adapted.
So your body gets acclimated to it and doesn't do as much after a while.
Exactly. And that was probably the biggest worry, is just like, all right, is this going to work? Because it hasn't worked before. But we did the chemo. I think that was, 6 months. I did more chemo in the hospital. And I made it. I got over 90% of my cancer gone. I was able to move forward and get in that stem cell. And that was a big step. I mean, it's the big guns. It's the hardest thing you can do, but I knew if I got there, it's just, I got to get through it.
What's the hardest thing you can do?
The stem cell.
Why? I know nothing about this.
So the stem cell transplant, I did my own cells. So basically, for Monday through Sunday, I was driving to Seattle from Puyallup. So that's probably like Tacoma to Puyallup. So it's about an hour drive. Monday through Sunday, just getting tested. I had to get every functioning part of my body tested to see if I can make it through an autologous. It's I forgot how to say the name, but it's basically a stem cell with my own cells. So it's basically, can you make it? Can you handle it? Because it's so intense. So I just got tests, and then eventually I was able to get provided the stem cell transplant.
And when was that? When was that completed?
October this year. So right now, that's why I got some curly hair. My hair was never like this.
Yeah, bro. Oh, it wasn't?
No.
You got some really good cool. You got some good flow.
Yeah. So that was from the stem cell. My hair changed. I lost. I got to get my kids shots again. Everything. I mean, it was definitely. I had to live in Seattle. It was a process. I mean, it was a long thing I had to do.
What's your prognosis now?
Right now, I'm currently in remission. I'm cancer-free, but it's a month-by-month basis with my case. So I don't even think about it. I just do what I need to do and get through it. I mean, cancer's not going to run me. So I just do what I need to do. Stem cell was the hardest thing I've had to go through. My wife was pregnant at the time. It was 6 days of chemo, 18 bags, just 24 hours. So basically just to wipe it so your whole body's clear. Nothing. No cells, no nothing. And you got to start, you got to re-up like you're a newborn baby, basically.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, you are a testament to strength. I mean, you got an amazing mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a big part of it. I always tell people it's like 80% mind and 20% medicine, because if you're going to be upset and not powering through it, or, you have that mindset like it's over, I'm done, then your body knows it. I never once thought that. I just kept going because I knew what's on the other side. My wife got pregnant. It was a miracle baby. We were trying, and then my cancer came back. So then it was I started my chemo, and 2 days later we found out she was pregnant. Last chance, basically. So now we have to do IVF because I did a stem cell. So now it's just different, but we had a miracle baby for us. And during my stem cell, that's all I thought about was how do I get back to them? So I just knew I had to take step by step. I was, an hour away. She couldn't stay. She was working. But we did it. We both did it. It's not just me. She helped me through everything.
So, Declan, where'd you learn that? I mean, I'm being serious. Like what? Somewhere along the way growing up. I mean, what did you see? What did you experience? What happened? I mean, and I love your mindset. And I couldn't agree more. Obviously, what you're doing, what you're going through, and your results. But your mindset, like, where did that come from?
I went through a lot growing up. My parents got divorced when I was in 5th grade. My mom was an alcoholic, so I got to see a lot of that growing up and had to go through a lot of adversity there. My dad had to get custody, so that was a big battle. So we went through all that stuff, all those hard times. It wasn't just an easy growing up. And then I was always, like I said before, I was just always getting sick. So things would pop up. I mean, when I got older, it stopped and suddenly came back with the cancer. But I went through so much in life that I just knew, like, this isn't it. This isn't it. And then I listened to a lot of powerful podcasts, a lot of Dave Anderson, things like that for mindset.
So I think that's a couple things when you start to unpack all this stuff. Number one, there's so many amazing stories of people that are like truly heroic around us. Like they're literally in our presence, right? And I hope what you're getting today from Declan, because I am, is one of those things where all the things he's talking about, because I think that whether you want to argue the ratio, We know so much of everything's mental. You know, your health, relationship, business, whatever it happens to be. We know your mindset is like navigates everything, right? We all seem to know that. And we say that. Like I've never heard anybody really argue that, whatever the percentage. I've never really heard anybody go like, no, your mindset's not important. I've heard a lot of things said that I think are stupid, but I've actually never heard anybody go, the mindset's not important. No matter who they are, as grounded in science as they are, whatever it is, nobody's told me that. Never once, and I wouldn't listen to them if they did. And to hear you talk about these things where, we have a lot of people on here that are they're either entrepreneurial in spirit or they're, doing something extra on the side of their job. They're trying to make, and we let life get in the way so much. Like I like what you said with the 10 minutes. I always kind of say, put myself in a box, bury it, and you always pick it back up. But that 10 minutes of, dude, like get it out. You talk about Dave Anderson. Dave Anderson said to me one day, I was in his office. I said, what's that chair about over there in the corner? And he's like, I sit in that an hour a day and nothing can get me out of it. My staff can't come knock on door unless the building's on fire. I said, what do you think about? And he said, what to write about, what to talk about, and what to get better at. And I was like, wow, that's like really intense. And I realized like I don't do that. You know what I mean? Like I don't do that. Like I need to do a better job of that. And I do think that a lot of people that come from adversity, it's kind of like sometimes it's our issue. Like we can deal with chaos. And sometimes we kind of will the chaos, and then you got a circumstance like this where you got this placed on you, last thing you needed, wanted, or asked for, and said, you know what? Screw it. Like to think when people are saying to you, we'll do the best we can, and there wasn't one fleeting moment where you're like, dude, I'm going to die. Like, because again, had you started telling your body that, and I believe that, by the way, I don't think everybody's got different circumstances, different medical conditions. I'm by no means saying that everybody's going to, by no means. But had you accepted that as a fact, I don't know that you would have healed the way you did. Who am I? I'm just like, and I think that some people say to me, and I'll do this and people get mad at me because I'm like, we use Dave Anderson because I do love Dave Anderson. Dave Anderson said to me in a meeting years ago, or said to all of us, if you've not heard him, he's a good dude, great author, great books. He wrote a book, If You Don't Make Waves, You'll Drown, changed my business life years ago. And I remember he said, he kind of looked at the crowd and they looked like they were kind of like, half out of it. And he said, you all should be really proud you're not part of the 155,000 people. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And he said, that's how many people died yesterday in the world, and you weren't one of them. And I was like, whatever the number is, whatever it's accurate for the world, America, I just like, there are a lot of people that are not here. And like, I'm here. Like, why would I? And I wasn't going through what you're going through either, Declan. So like, what am I going to bitch, moan, and complain about? Declan also, in the midst of this, did you leave your job in the city before, after? How'd that work? Because you worked at the city.
I worked at the city, and then I left right when I got licensed. Right.
Got it. But you had cancer. What? Give me the like.
I got cancer.
While you're working there?
But yeah.
Okay.
It was right before the city, actually. Right before the city, I hit remission. And then right after remission, I went to work for the city. It was an opportunity I thought was good.
Yeah.
I got a job there working. It was a seasonal, actually. So it wasn't even a full-time job. And I thought it was a good position. So. Well,
I think that's the thing. I took a job with the state. And I remember like my mom saying like, that's the greatest job in the history of the world. And there's nothing wrong with the job. The job was fine. Like it was a good job. It had benefits and made $65,000 for overtime. Then I made overtime. But I thought that's all I could ever do. Like I was like, dude, I'm just going to retire here one day. Like the next 35 years, it'll be awesome. Then you went ahead and got an insurance license. You said to me, I made more my first 4 months selling insurance than I did my previous year working, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I saw my upline post stuff on Instagram, and I had a conversation with them, and he really sold in on that living benefits for me, and that was like, wow, I can show people those living benefits, and they don't have to work like I had to work during my chemos.
Tell people if you had, because a lot of people don't know, and I'm just like, it blew me away when I started getting the insurance business too, and I've been in all these different businesses. If you had living benefits, what could that have done? Like you had a life insurance policy, living benefits. Explain to everybody watching what that even means.
It would have been huge. If I had I don't know, like a 300,000 IUL or something like that, I would have got paid out. I would have got 80% of that policy,
or a lot of these policies, term policies, whatever they have living benefit riders.
Yeah, exactly, tons of them, and I would get paid out, and so I wouldn't have to work. I worked during my chemos.
While you're alive, you could have taken a percentage of the policy out while you're alive,
Yep.
and then you can stay alive for the rest of your life. You're good. You could even outlive the term, and you don't owe anybody any money, but you get that when you get certain conditions.
So that really got me into thinking about this job, just like all the people that I could help with that, because if someone gave that opportunity to me, I wouldn't have had to work. I worked during my chemos. I did what I had to do because I need those medical benefits. Now I'm on my wife, so that helps, but it's just, I had to do it. I had no choice.
So now here's and again, that it's such an amazing story, and I do appreciate sharing it, Declan. And again, I think adversity is taught to me through people that have had real life challenges and dealt with them the way you've dealt with them, right? That's for me. And so you should be really proud of who you are, the way you handle things, the man you are, the way you do your shit, the way you looked at it, the way you inspired people. And I hope how you've shared it is inspiring people for going through whatever they're going through. They could be going through anything. And I think it's always perspective, right? Because when we're going through something, no matter what it is, by the way, what you're going through is terrible. Right. Terrible. But you realize that, like, I had a guy tell me one day, and he's like, this is a horrible thing to say, but he goes, I was at the hospital. His child was ill, really young. And he said, one day it hit me that, like, the doctors were awesome, and they were very attentive to me and my daughter and my wife and our family. But I knew that, like, when their shift ended at 4, they went home. It didn't, like, meaning, like, life just goes on. Like, everybody's life just keeps going on. And I had to learn that about people. Like, people's lives just keep going on. And that's okay. Like, that's part of life, right? But it's understanding that. And then we have people, and I think we've all been there, right? Where something happens, and it's like the biggest deal in the history of the world. And you're like, like, can that actually, like, take your life? Well, no. Okay, like, and I'm a big, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Now, for you, you're like, worst things that happen is I'm going to go through treatment. I'm not going to die, so I'm not accepting that. I'm going to keep going through treatment, and I got my money on you, Declan, believe me. If I was a gambling man, and I am a gambling man, I bet on you, okay, all day long. So I'm good there. I think it's getting people to understand that, and people will fight you on this, but the one thing I'm fucking sure of is the mind's such a fucking powerful thing, positive or negative. And that's the other thing you don't realize. Even if you're indifferent, is better than being negative. If you can't be positive, even if you can live in this indifference, but once you're negative, dude, you can will yourself. Like, we all say that. Like, what's wrong with him? He always feels like that. He's always sad. No matter, he's always angry. He's always sad. Whatever it is, because he's just decided that's where he is. He's always the victim, right? Like, he's always gone through this. And I think we have to take control of our own lives. And for me, I tend to point to people that have gone through other things too, because if you give me Declan or Timmy 2 times, the motivational speaker who's never gone through anything and tells you stories that aren't even true, I'd rather hear what the fuck you went through. Because to me, it gives me the, when I listen to people, and a lot of times you remind me of, Austin Hatch? You were at a convention when Austin Hatch spoke?
Yeah, I did.
And Austin Hatch has lived through 2 fatal plane crashes. University of Michigan, phenomenal basketball player, had tragedy. But he tells your story. He tells his story like, it's funny. You'll talk to somebody, or it's ironic, you said. You'll talk to somebody who'll go like, they stubbed their toe 3 times. Dude, and they'll have this like elongated story about the toe stubbing. Like, and then this happened. It was the worst pain I had in my entire life. And then you're not going to believe it. Then I got up and then my toe fell, slipped my foot. And then I actually went and the guy drove by in a puddle and he got me wet. It's the worst day ever in my life. You won't even believe how fucking bad it was. And then I got you and Austin Hatch telling these stories of like fighting for your life. And I'm like, Austin, tell me about your rehab. He's like, oh, rehab is long. And it was, we went through it. And I'm like, and then you're just like, yeah, that chemo to radiation, we did that. It worked. And the stem cells, that was the long, we drove an hour. Like, but the toe stubbing, story for people. I'm not trying. I'm saying it's longer than yours because they want it to be bad. They don't want the end result to be good because the story's actually not that bad to begin with. So they have to make it fucking bad. So you feel bad for them. But if your mind says feel bad for me externally, then you're saying feel bad for yourself. And then you're saying, I give up. I give up. Like, I give up. You know? Declan, when you see yourself moving, first of all, are you comfortable sharing your story with people?
I am, yeah. I think it's like people ask me what's my hobby right now. It's like, dude, I need to find a hobby. My whole life for between 21 and 25 has just been surviving, kind of. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, I've told it to multiple people, and it's just a part of something I had to get through. So it's a part of me. So if I got to share it, that's what I'll do. If someone has a question, I'll always share it. And I always want to reach out to people who maybe just got diagnosed with cancer as well, you know, and they need someone to be a bouncing board or whatever it is. Because, you know, you see these people who are, you know, kids getting it. And that's what I'd always see too. It's like, you know, he's like a 5-year-old kid and he's going through it and he's not complaining. So why am I complaining? And so just reaching out to people who are going through it and need it, or just need someone to talk to or whatever. Because you know, not everybody goes through it. So you kind of feel alone sometimes.
Declan, if people wanted to reach you, how do they find you on Instagram? What's your handle? How do they find you?
I think it's Declan.Uzman.
Spell Uzman.
Declan and then .Ouzman.
Declan Duzman?
Uzman. Ouzman.
Okay. So Declan Uzman. Yep. I was reading. You were spelling the first one. I was on the loss. I was all confused.
I'm sure no one has that name. So
I think you'll be the only one. But I think that's the other thing, man, is you'll get so much out of people because for you to, no matter what, if you're going through something and nobody around you is going through it, that nobody can relate. You know, so if I go, man, you know, you just have to do A, B, and C, you're like, you instantly probably should go, dude, you have no idea what I'm going through. Like, you should think that. I think that is normal. So I think, and also the fact that you want to help. That's part of, and I do have a deep faith, dude. Like, we didn't find each other by accident. You're not here by accident. Like, I do think you can help people that have gone through this. I think this idea of, you know, how much stronger faith and mindset can be over, you know, over a disease. And it doesn't mean it always that, but hell, no matter what you're doing in life, you definitely want to fight it with the best possible mindset you can to give yourself the best possible chance you can. Doesn't always mean everything's going to turn. I get that. But, you know, and I think I'm a perspective person. You do that 10 minutes. And I do this every day. And it's in my mind. So I don't like sit down and write notes. I don't sit in a chair and have a quiet time. Probably should. But I spend time thinking about what people are going through. Like, there's been days, Declan, I've thought about what you're going through. Like, I've literally thought about it. And it's like, okay, so yesterday sucked. This has happened in the business. Oh, my God. And I'm like, dude is in his 20s. Didn't know if I could even have a baby. Had a miracle pregnancy. And boom, cancer. Yeah. And I just want to get out and see my pregnant wife. And I'm like, dude, I ain't complaining about nothing. If I get hit by a bus, then by a train, I ain't saying shit because my situation's not near as bad as Declan's, you know. Please reach out to him. He's also, you know, in the life insurance business. You know, so reach out to him about that. If you need a policy, reach out to him. If you've gone through cancer, you've gone through anything else, dude, I'm telling you, man, there might be people that, you know, they've been polished and speaking about this shit for 20 years. But this dude's stuff is raw. It's real. He's lived it. He's smart. He's very communicative. And dude, I'm honored to have any business affiliation with you, but I'm more honored to call you a friend. I look up to you as far as your resiliency.
I appreciate it. I'm honored to be on here, and you know, I'm privileged to work for FFL and the things they've done for me. Best company I've ever worked for. You know, I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, it's what you do, bro. It's what you do, and it's who you are, and what you do. You know, and But I mean it. Reach out to him, man. You ain't going to find anybody else named Declan Usman, so you should have no problem finding him. We also need some people to follow him because he's got a social media following that's like, sorry, but it's really bad.
Yeah, I think it's like 400.
It's like pretty bad, but he's not tried. But with what he brings to the table, he's a dude people should be talking to and telling his story. And I'm not telling you what to do, Declan, but there's people going through this all over the place, and you got to get in front of them, dude, because you'll speak life into people. You will speak freaking life into people. So I appreciate you getting on. For all of y'all, like, subscribe, share. Hey, if you have anybody in your family going through any of this, friend, dude, here's your guy. I mean, like, I can tell you what book to read. You can tell me what book to read, but hear from this dude. Like, help him. Send it to him. Share this. Comment. Subscribe. And I'm always appreciative of your time when you jump me, no, don't jump me during the punch me in the face. When you jump on, I guess you do that too. I wear a shirt that says punch me in the face all the time. So I'm always ready, Declan. So be careful when we hang out together. I'm ready to get punched in the face. And, but you jumping on and taking some of your time to, tune in. Your time is valuable. This is valuable. This is real. It's raw. It's relatable, and the shit works. So appreciate y'all. Have a great day.
Appreciate it.